Hey queens, tis I, the coconut water fish curry witch of the internet. Last week's video was like really intense for me, you guys, not because it was technically challenging, but because it was cursed by some unknown entity. So every step of the process was like riddled with a bajillion problems and obstacles to overcome. I don't want to get into it. So I thought let's do something a little bit different today and dive into the murky waters of Bollywood's latest South India tourism exhibition movie, Param Sunduri. Yes, my friends, I recently had the incredible displeasure of watching this movie in theaters. Actually, that's an exaggeration. It wasn't that bad. 4.5 out of 10, I would say. But there was just nothing to really write home about, you know? It was in every way predictable and gave me just the most astronomical amounts of secondhand embarrassment. Like, this was me for almost the entirety of the film. I was just like, yeah, this is not an exaggeration. You can ask my mom, she was right next to me and equally confused by the movie. In fact, I think if Siddharth Malhotra was not like the most beautiful man ever, we probably would have walked out halfway through the film. Anyways, so Param Sundari is about Sundari, the Sheen version of Minama from Chennai Express. She lives in a small town in Kerala in her uncle's estate, which she and her sister had to make home after the untimely demise of their parents. RIP. But she's also the caretaker of this place, kind of, which functions as an Airbnb, and her duties include being rude and dismissive of her guests, climbing coconut trees, and chasing people away with sickles. Because, of course. Not gonna lie, this is how I wanted to act with people sometimes when I was in retail, so she kind of real for this. Now, the reason why she's like this is because this job is something that she's doing out of obligation and not what she actually wants to do. What she actually wants is to be a dancer of Mohiniyattam. Again, of course, you know, the two favorite hobbies of South Indian girlies, classical dance and sickle wielding. I feel like I've heard this plotline somewhere before though. You know, girl who wants to be a dancer but cannot because of familial obligations and responsibilities. Where have I heard this? Where? I feel like it's almost there. Nope, can't think of anything. Must be an original. Now, our second main character is Param, who, as the kids would say, is an entrepreneur. AKA, he's the privileged son of a rich dad who whittles away his father's money investing in shady businesses under the pretext of looking busy and building something of his own, which usually ends in disaster. So he's a grifter, basically. Am I Param? Nah, I don't have half the audacity he does. Anyway, so Param's latest investment is in this matchmaking app, which supposedly uses a complicated algorithm to connect users to their supposed soulmate. Sounds legit. And surprise, surprise, whose profile do you think it connects into? That's right. Our very own
തേക്കപ്പെട്ട സുന്ദരി ദാമോദരം പിള്ളை കേരള से
Yes, that's her name. So, in order to prove that the algorithm is indeed spot on and that his investment in this app is a great decision, which will in turn prove to his dad that he's not a gullible fool, he tracks Sundari all the way to her hometown, and him and his best friend slash sidekick land at her doorstep, which is not creepy at all. Okay, shh. Sundari is not happy about this, having to be at the beck and call of these obnoxious North Indians with their parathas and their short shorts and their overly loud, extroverted energy. Listen, I would be offended by this one dimensional portrayal of North Indians as well, but most of my friends are North Indian, and I'm sorry, guys, you all are exactly like this. I'm kidding, of course. They're much worse. So, anyways, from this point on begins a sort of weak enemies to lovers arc between these two characters, where Param tries to get Sundari to fall in love with him using his wily charms and his awful one liners, half hearted participation in her culture, and once again, parathas. And after a lot of shenanigans, getting attacked by a CGI elephant, and one romance song later, what do you know? It actually works. Sundari begins to fall for our hero. How? Uh, let's be honest, guys. If Param didn't look like Siddharth Malhotra, do you think any of this would have still worked? Oh, not really. Anyways, just as everything begins to fall into place, what's this? Kahani mein twist? Kebab mein haddi? Yes, you guys, because in comes our heroine's former love interest slash childhood best friend slash suddenly future husband, Venu Gopal Nair. I swear to God, guys, the way Bollywood depicts South Indians is the way that Hollywood depicts Indians. But contrary to his name, Venu is anything but conventional. He is a walking green flag, a green forest, in fact. Bro is like the perfect man, if that's even possible. He's smart, good looking, he's a friggin' doctor, is good at literally everything he does, including dance. Shut up, okay? He's trying his best. More than anything, he's kind, considerate of Sundari's feelings, and just a genuinely likable human being who treats everyone around him with decency and respect. So, of course, she doesn't choose him. Yeah, I know. Even after seeing what a good person Venu is, and after Param's confession that he had basically manipulated her into falling in love with him, something he only confesses, by the way, because he discovers that the app he had invested in turns out to be a fake. After which he's forced by his dad as well as Juggy to confess the truth to Sundari. Yes, even after all of this, the moment that Param comes rushing back just seconds before her wedding and like declares his love or whatever, she doesn't even like waste a second where she's like turns around and is like, oh my god, you know what, yahi to hai mera. How, girl? You don't know anything about each other. You know what? My bad for approaching this with logic. Sorry. Anyways, after this, there's a random chase sequence involving all the villagers, after which our leads finally confess their feelings to each other and kiss cinematically while standing on a boat, much to the abject horror of everyone else around. Because, yeah, the whole village is still watching. This was really funny though, I'm not gonna lie. Unintentionally, but still funny. And that's the story, folks. Presumably, they lived happily ever after, but who can say? And now that you know the story, let's actually talk about the film. This movie is a laundry list of stereotypes. And it's kind of funny actually the way that Bollywood depicts South India, the way that James Cameron depicts Pandora. Like there's a scene where Param has been injured after a Kalari Payuttu fight. Yes, you heard that correctly. And so he's sitting next to the river, nursing his wound when Sundari walks up to him, grabs the leaves of a random herb growing on the side, and just like crushes it between her fingers and applies it to his wound. Ew. Like, I'm not an expert in natural medicine or whatever, but ma'am, your uncle's fight gym doesn't have a first aid box? And when he flinches and says that he should probably go to a hospital, she smirks at him and is like, huh, you city dwellers. Okay, Netiri, calm down. Top tier cringe. Didn't even know this level was possible. And then immediately in the next scene, Siddharth Malhotra is assaulted by a CGI elephant. It's giving Main Prem Ki Diwani Hu, honestly. The fashion in this movie is also so boring, you guys. Like, on one hand, there's Chennai Express and Two States, which provided everyone, including the South Indian girlies, with so much fashion inspo. And then there's this movie with the drabbest, most yawn fest outfits ever. I mean, what even is the point of like an epic romance Bollywood film without show stopping looks?
मुंह तो बंद करो अंकल
This creepy girl. Oh my god. Okay, let me be serious, you guys. Sexually harassing men isn't funny and should not be played for jokes. Like, it's 2025. Come on. Like, I felt so uncomfortable for Siddharth Malhotra in these scenes, and there wasn't even any point to it. It was just for a cheap gag. Like, ew. In conclusion, I feel like the movie could have been so much better if they had tried subverting even one of the tropes or stereotypes presented in this film. Like, imagine if Sundari's dream was to be good at Kalari Payattu rather than Mohiniyattam, and the one stopping her from doing so was her uncle, who was doing it out of good intentions because he's ultra protective of his niece after the death of her parents, but in doing so is also unintentionally suffocating her desire to live her life authentically. Boom. Emotional depth. Hire me, Netflix. Or maybe they could have shown that Param is not actually a grifter and an idiot, but rather someone with actual talent, intelligence, and potential, but who keeps pursuing a certain life path because he feels it's the only thing that'll make his father proud. Boom, layers. Now he's 10 times more likable and relatable. And we know for a fact that Siddharth Malhotra can play such a character with sincerity because he's already done it in Hasi To Fasi. His portrayal of Nikhil, a guy who is genuinely sweet, hardworking, resourceful, and full of creative ideas, but who is forced to stifle his true self in order to conform to the expectations of people around him, mostly his fiancée, is, in my opinion, one of his best acting roles to date. And that's what Param could have been like. Someone who's like a cross between Nikhil from Hasi To Fasi and Rocky from Rocky or Rani. But instead, what we got was this main character who offers us nothing to root for and would honestly be kind of annoying to hang out with in real life. I mean, his own best friend, the quote unquote supporting character, gets tired of supporting him by the second half of the film and just decides to like book it and do his own thing. Got his own shorty too. Honestly, good for him. But I think the worst part is that it presents the people of Kerala as these outlandish caricatures of themselves. There is no depth or complexity to any of them, which aren't the actors' faults, they're just working with what they've got. But I just don't understand why South Indians must always be presented as hostile or aggressive or like aliens from an exotic planet. Listen, I lived in Kerala for 4 years when I was doing my undergrad, and this is what I experienced. The people of Kerala were warm and kind and hospitable. They were also funny and creative and artistic and talented. And I miss that place dearly, where I have so many wonderful, irreplaceable memories, which not only allowed me to grow as an artist, but also as a person. I'm not going to say that every single experience there was a good one, but it's not any better or worse than any other Indian city that I've been to. And that's usually the reality of any place or people. They are rarely ever one thing. More often than not, there's usually layers to every one of their stories. And what can I say about the depiction of South Indian people in Bollywood that hasn't already been said before? No, seriously, I wish I had something new to add to the conversation. But absolutely nothing has changed since this, or this, or this, or even this. Not this one though. I don't know. This one feels like it comes from a place of love. I can't explain it. But what I can say is that at a time when the collective South Indian film industry has been producing some of the most impactful cinema in the world, Bollywood's portrayal of South India and South Indian culture is still one dimensional and disappointing and cringe. So, very, very, very cringe. Bollywood, I love you, but do better. Hashtag justice for Venu. Oh, hello there. If you made it to the end of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on all my socials. Thank you for listening to my yapping. Unfortunately, I will be back to do it again, and when I do, I hope to see you there. Okay, bye.